everybody, Eric here again, and today I want to talk about 5G and how it makes your beard just grow uncontrollably. No, not really, but I do want to talk about why there's so many conspiracy theories out there and what it is and why you care. Take a moment. If this brings you value, please like, subscribe. That really helps the YouTube algorithm, and hit that little bell thingy too. I would greatly appreciate it. All right, on to 5G. Why is everybody so freaked out? Why am I talking about this right now? And so in the news, there's this bomber that blew up this AT&T building, and it sounds like, and this was in Nashville, sounds like he might have been a 5G conspiracy theorist. His dad worked at AT&T, had lots of experience. I've worked in those buildings. Want to kind of talk about it and why 5G has people so freaked out. All right. Let's go back in time, and that's how we have to, get to the 5G story. And first I'm going to talk about 1G, which was the original cell phone rollout way back in the 80s. And then we had 2G, 3G, 4G, and now 5G. And believe it or not, each time a new technology was rolled out, everybody got a little freaked out. And, kind of the history here, well, I got to go into the frequency thing first, and I want to make it simple. Now, there is RF, it's called radio frequencies, in everything. And I don't think people really realize how much is in the air. And I'll talk about some of the things real quick that are in the air. And so these are primitive stuff, but your power box, that's how they read the meters now, they don't come to your house anymore. It projects an RF signal that goes a couple of miles. They've got one on your water meter. They've got one on your gas meter. There's TV signals in the air. There is, there's just so many things. There's radio signals. There's walkie-talkie signals. Of course, there's current cell phone signals. And we are using up almost all of the frequencies out there today, and they're bombarding us constantly. And 100 years ago, that wasn't really the case. All right, so back to the frequency stuff. They all work on volumes and different numbers, but I want to simplify the numbers for everybody that's not technical here. And don't get confused. So the lower the number, and there's a range. It starts with kilohertz, which are like old school radio stations, and then it goes into megahertz, which are things that your Wi-Fi works on and your current cell phones work on. Then it goes into gigahertz, which is like your Wi-Fis and things like that. And so the kilohertz part are the lowest frequencies. And why that's important, so you see like a 500 kilohertz is a really, really low frequency. It goes really, really far on low power. And that's why radio stations, especially old school radio stations, could go hundreds of miles on that. And those were the first signals that people used. And as those started to get eat up, they started moving up, and it would take more power the higher the frequency. So then it goes into megahertz, which is what our cell phones use today. The lower the frequency, the further the cell phone signal will go. The higher the frequency in megahertz, the more power it takes. And it doesn't go through things. It doesn't go very far. It doesn't go through walls and things like that. Almost all cell phones, 1G, 2G, 3G, and 4G, all work in the megahertz today. Some of them are in the low gigahertz, but they go far. And they go through walls, they go through dirt, they go through your basement. They work pretty well. I want to talk about how cells started. And the original cell phones, the old bricks that you used to see, they were called Dynatacs, that came out in the early 80s, or ones that you would carry around in your car. Those things had a broadcast power of 5 watts. Maybe 3 to 5 watts, but 5 watts. And even the phones that were 2G and 3G going into the 90s and 2000s had sometimes a 1 watt power. And that's why for everybody that's my age or around my age, that's why they got hot. The phones got really hot. It's because they were transmitting at a 1 watt power. Keep in mind, like your microwave works on radio frequencies, and they transmit at 1,000 watts power. So 1 watt, it's a lot less than the 5 watts that when cell phones first started, but it's still a lot. And so today's phones, they are like 0.2 of a watt. And so they've no conspiracy theory here. Again, I'm not trying to direct anybody, but they use a lot less power than they did a long time ago. And about 0.2 of a watt, they can go, anywhere, depending on the frequency, 50 miles, but most of them are about 10, 15 miles and whatnot. And so that's what, we've been progressing. The phones have been getting lower powered, and, they've been tuning the frequencies. Radio stations and TV stations have been going away because those are prime things. But now we've got 5G. And again, everybody's really freaked out about 5G. I'm not here to steer anybody anyway, but let's talk about what's different. So everything almost in the megahertz that we were just talking about is full. There's no more room. And so you can go up to almost what they call the visual spectrum in radio frequencies, and you've got this gap in the gigahertz, way up in the gigahertz, well above Wi-Fi and these other things. And those frequencies are unused. You've got satellites using lower frequencies. You've got all of this stuff bombarding us all the time, but this is all unused. The problem with these higher frequencies in the gigahertz, they don't go very far. And they take a lot more power to go through things. They don't go through walls. They don't go through buildings. You can't use it in a basement. And what they have to do to make 5G work, because they said 5G is going to operate in those new gigahertz completely empty space, because nobody wanted those before. They didn't go very far. They didn't go through objects. Well, to make this work, they've got to put towers everywhere. And so now you're seeing these towers pop up everywhere. And there's more of them. They're in your backyard. They're going to be on every street light. They're going to be in every neighborhood. They'll be on mailboxes. They'll be on stoplights. They will literally, to make it work right, they will be every couple hundred yards. And that's kind of freaking people out. And they do take more power. Not much more. They're probably about half a watt, a quarter, I'd say a quarter of what we're talking about. So cell phones today, and maybe a little bit higher. But the towers, they put out more power, and they're going to be right on top of these people. That's why everybody's concerned about 5G. It's going to be a lot more towers everywhere, not just one up on the mountain. So that's kind of where the concern is. That's how this all works. I want to back it up a little bit to RF as a whole. There's been a lot of debate through the years if radio frequency caused cancer. Cancer rates are up over the last 100 years. No doubt about that. They really haven't ID'd it down. If you've ever opened your cell phone packet, it tells you how harmful RF is, or they don't know, and how to do it safely. But let's face it, they don't really know. Things are getting better, lower power, things like that, but we don't really know. But it's important to understand how much radio frequency is out there. There is tons. Again, I was talking about satellite. Starlink and two other companies are putting up thousands of satellites up in the air. You've got satellite radio, you've got satellite TV, you've got GPS. All of these things are beaming down, and they're going through our roofs. They're going through our bodies. They're hitting the ground. We've got cell towers everywhere. We got TV towers everywhere. There is a lot of radio frequency out there. And so I'm not 100% sure about this 5G conspiracy theory realm, but I'll give it to them that radio frequencies are probably not great for us, but we just don't know. We've not been using them long enough to know. But they are everywhere. And I wish I could visualize it for everybody. Maybe I can. Every single moment of every single day across the entire radio frequency spectrum, you are being bombarded by radio frequencies. It's just the fact of the matter. If 5G stuff is more harmful or not than just all the other stuff we're being bombarded with, your Wi-Fi at your house runs on the same frequency as your microwave, just a lot lower power. That could be more harmful than 5G. We just don't know. I mean, Wi-Fi's only been around about 20 years, so we don't know. I don't know. Lots of conspiracy theories out there. Hopefully this video was helpful. Real quick to keep in mind, the rollout of this 5G, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a slow rollout because they have to put towers everywhere. The permitting process, the process to roll trucks, install them on all these street lights, and how close they have to be. If you're in a big city, you're going to see a lot of these weird looking towers quickly. If you're in a rural community, it's going to take longer for them to roll out. We're talking years. I think we're going to see more vandalism. We're going to see more people cautious about this, concerned. If you look at Europe, there's a lot of vandalism going on against 4G towers and things like that. Ham radio operators are complaining that their towers are being vandalized because people think they're 5G towers. To wrap things up, we just don't know. Radio frequencies are going to keep increasing. There's going to be more of them. There's going to be more power out there being pushed through them. Only time is going to tell what happens and how it affects the human body. So make your own opinion. Hopefully this is educational. If it was, again, please subscribe, like, share, hit that bell. Got a bunch of more, technology related things and some money and tech things that are related coming out. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching.